Hello, everybody, and welcome back. This is Suspects and Spirits, and I'm your host, Taylor Seraphin. It's Friday. It's been a week. I love these kids. Love them so much. I just smoosh their little faces, but it's a lot of work, and I'm real tired. Husband ended up staying home today because he's worked like literally every day for the last 3 weeks. So he was like, I'm not going to work today. He's in the restaurant industry. He runs like 3 restaurants. They do live music. They do all kinds of stuff. So he's very tired as well. He works like 82-hour weeks. So he stayed home, which was nice. And oh my gosh. Okay, hold on. I have to ask you guys something. My daughter and I were playing Guess in 10. Okay, that game where, there's like cards and you read the clues on them. If you have kids, you probably know. And I'm sorry. Did you know that sharks don't have bones? Like, since when? Since when do sharks not have bones? I feel this information should be something that I know. Sharks are fish. Fish have bones, but not this giant ass fish. No, their bones are just cartilage, apparently. They're just a giant nose ear, a connective tissue and muscle. That's it. So I didn't know that. I was playing with her, and one of the clues, it was like, I'm the largest fish, I'm a predator and I don't have bones. I was like, what the, like, obviously I knew it was going to be a shark, but I was like, don't have bones? What do you mean? What do you mean you don't have bones? So I had to look that up because I was like, what the hell? What the helly? I had no clue that sharks don't have bones. So now you know. Learn something new every day. Apparently, I can never go on the show, Are You Smarter Than a Second Grader? Because I'm not. My 7-year-old knew that, and I didn't. So sharks don't have bones, guys. And speaking of things that I did not realize, I actually have a public apology to make. I've been absolutely talking mad shit about the peanut butter jelly M&Ms. I saw them and said, immediately no. I was like, no, that is nasty. My mind went straight to that jar of PB&J that they had, back in the day. I don't know if it's still around. I haven't seen it at the store. I immediately thought of that jar where they tried to like mix the PB and the J, the peanut butter and the jelly it was all in a jar together. It was not good, in my opinion. I also did not like the idea of jelly inside of chocolate for some reason. I don't know. Maybe you guys like that. Maybe you roll like that. I don't. I was like, what the fuck is that? So the idea of peanut butter and jelly M&Ms was just awful to me. I like peanut butter and chocolate. It's one of my favorite things. I like Reese's ice cream. I love peanut butter and chocolate, but the jelly, it threw me. It threw me off. So I was like, I'm not trying that. But guys, I stand corrected. I would like to apologize to the peanut butter and jelly M&Ms. They're delicious. I'm so sorry for judging a Candy Bites cover. They're so good. I just needed to say that because I really have been destroying their reputation. They're actually delightful and addictive. Just ask the entire bag of M&Ms that I ate. And I don't mean like a cute little bag that you get at the checkout counter. I mean one of those share-sized bags. Listen, don't judge me, okay? I also ate an entire 12-inch pizza the other day, and I had bagel bites for dinner last night because they're a comfort food, and I'm stressed. I'm stressy and depressy because school year has started and these kids are wild, okay? What are you going to do about it? I love food. Fight me, okay? Welcome back. Here we are. Sharks don't have bones, and peanut butter jelly M&Ms are fire, okay? As the kids would say, they slap or smack or whatever the hell they say. So I don't understand anything that these says. If it's a food, I think it slaps, or maybe it smacks. I don't know. I don't like smacking when it comes to food. I got misophonia real bad. You're smacking your lips. You need to leave the room, or I will leave the room, or someone will get hurt. I don't know. Slaps or smacks. Is there a difference? Does anyone know what the skibbity toilet? I have no idea. I don't know any of the lingo. I just say it a lot and embarrass my 13-year-old with it. This has been an interesting intro. All right, true crime nerds and paranormal pals. I have a tragically interesting story for us today. This is going to be a paranormal episode because last week I did the wood chipper murder, Hella Crafts. That was a gruesome story, wasn't it? Still thinking about it. Will forever be thinking about it, tattooed on the inside of my eyelids. But our story today, it's an interesting haunting. It is a little tragic. And I say this because anytime, death is involved, it is obviously very sad. It's a tragic time. but this story itself is really historically fascinating, and the claims of paranormal activity are very, very well known. As you read in the title, we are going to be talking about the St. Augustine Lighthouse. Now, I've actually been to St. Augustine. My sister lives in Florida, and we went to St. Augustine. We went to the Castillo de San Marcos. It was incredible. Like I mentioned before, I'm a huge history nerd. Personally, I feel like history kind of just comes with hauntings, you know? We did not get to go to the lighthouse, unfortunately, but the Castillo was it was remarkable. So highly recommend you go there, learn all about the history, and talk to the fabulous people who work there because they do the damn thing. They get real into character. They do their jobs. So you learn a lot. Now, the Castillo that we went to, it does have rumors of hauntings, such as, unexplained shadows walking about, sudden random drops in temperature, chills, disembodied voices, and even some people have claimed that they've seen a headless apparition at the Castillo, which is like wild. I need to go back. I want to go at nighttime and check it out. We went during the day and it was cold. It was freaking cold. I know it's Florida and people are like, oh, Florida, it's so warm and humid and beautiful. It was cold. I mean, we were there in December. It was Christmas time. We were visiting. So it definitely was not summer vacay. It was like really windy, really cold. We took the kids to the Pirate Museum too. They loved that. That was amazing. They even have this like map and kids can go on a quest through the Pirate Museum and they have to look for clues and they have to follow the map. It's really, really fun. So if you're ever in the area, check out the Pirate Museum. Totally worth it, especially if you have kids. Even if you don't have kids, go on a friggin' adventure. Enjoy the Pirate Museum. It's really fun. And if you do have kids, bonus, you'll get like super awesome parent points for that. Core memories being made. But yeah, the Castillo that we went to, the amount of bloodshed and history there, I mean, I can believe it's definitely haunted. I may eventually do an episode on that. But this lighthouse, you guys, this one in particular, oh my, it is rife with ghostly encounters and a very grim history. So let's get into it. We're going to start at the beginning. It's a very good place to start. Okay, sorry. I had to. It was right there. If you don't know The Sound of Music, what are you doing with your life? Go watch it. One of the best movies ever made. Okay, sorry. Focus. Lock in, Taylor. We're going to start at the beginning with the history of the lighthouse. And if you're real mad about that and you're like, I came here for a ghost story, not for a history lesson. First of all, I'm a teacher, so are you even surprised? Second, just hit the skip button and fast forward a bit. Like everything will be okay, I promise. Just fast forward. That being said, I want to start with the history because in order to understand one of the most haunted places in America, you've got to understand the land it was built on, which was a city born basically in blood, fire, and survival. St. Augustine, Florida is the oldest city in the United States, maybe one of the most fought over patches of coastline in the Western Hemisphere. It's where pirates set fire to streets, where empires clashed, and where a simple wooden tower was raised to keep watch against enemies that came by sea. And that tower, in time, would become a lighthouse. And that lighthouse would become a graveyard. So let's go back, way, way back in the before time, back before the spiral stripes, back to the 16th century. The year was 1565. Spain was the superpower of the seas. Gold from the Americas poured into its treasuries, and its galleons crossed the Atlantic like floating fortresses. But those galleons had to stop somewhere. And Florida's coast, very dangerous, shallow and unpredictable, was both a risk and also a prize. On September 8th, 1565, Spanish Admiral Pedro Menendez de Aviles, that's really fun to say, I hope I said it right, he came ashore with settlers, soldiers, and priests, claiming the land for Spain, aka taking it away from the people who were already there, the native people. The Timucua, I think that's how you say it. I'm so sorry if I butchered that. They were not happy about this and they tried to fight for their land. But the Spanish proceeded with their takeover and they named it San Augustine. This little outpost would become the oldest continuously occupied European settlement in what we now call the United States. It actually predates Jamestown by 42 years and Plymouth Rock by 55 years. But life here, even though in Florida, it was no paradise. Florida was a storm-battered, mosquito-ridden frontier, and enemies circled like sharks. The Spanish faced resistance from the native Timucua, which again, that's their land. Like, give it back. I can see why they would resist. But the Spanish were also facing attacks from other rivals, European powers, and some of the worst enemies of all, pirates. And if you picture pirates as like cartoonish rum drinkers, Captain Jack Sparrow, you, my friend, have some research to do because pirates were anything but lovely men in eyeliner with a beautiful wobbly run. They were actually terrifying. In the 1500s and 1600s, piracy was organized. It was vicious and often state sanctioned. The English and French called their captains privateers, and I call them the ocean mafia because that is basically what they were. Only they didn't abide by the whole no hurting women and children thing. They truly gave no fucks and would kill anyone who got in their way, as well as assault women in the most awful way you can imagine. Could not pay me enough to live there during these times. I always say I was born in the wrong era, but like definitely not this one. Also, the smell. Oh my God. I imagine it was pretty terrible. In 1586, one of the most feared pirate names in England, Sir Francis Drake, arrived off the coast of Florida. Drake wasn't some rogue pirate. He was actually, he was practically a celebrity. He was knighted by the Queen, Queen Elizabeth I. To the Spanish, he was a pirate of the highest order. Why was a pirate knighted? I had the same question. Apparently, he was the first Englishman to circumnavigate the globe. So there you go. It's impressive, sure, but like based on what we know about pirate culture, I'm not sure we should be knighting these guys. Just a personal opinion. So Drake's fleet eventually attacked and burned St. Augustine to the ground. Clearly a gentleman. The Spanish garrison fled, and the wooden watchtower that they had built to make sure that their people were safe, that little outpost on the inlet, completely gone. They had to stand there on the dunes and just watch their city vanish in smoke. That moment of foreign sails appearing offshore, flames lighting up the sky, would become a recurring nightmare in St. Augustine's history. I imagine that is also how the Native Americans felt too. They were like, karma's a bitch. But regardless, the Spanish rebuilt. They always rebuilt. And by 1737, they tried a sturdier solution. That old Spanish watchtower that was built of wood was now built of coquina stone. Am I saying that right? Someone tell me. The same seashell rock used for the Castillo de San Marcos, the fortress downtown, the one I mentioned that I've been to. So this material was stronger, yes, but the seas were relentless and the enemies still lurked. And guys, we can't talk about enemies and pirates without mentioning the big name, the one you're all waiting for, I'm sure, Edward Teach, or better known as Blackbeard. His legend casts such a shadow over the golden age of piracy that people assume he terrorized every coast. And while there's no actual, solid evidence that Blackbeard personally attacked St. Augustine, his presence in the waters of the Southeast Atlantic was enough to make Spanish settlers lose some sleep. They were like, oh shit, we don't want Blackbeard over here. He's the worst. Also, have you seen his teeth? He smells terrible. Now, Blackbeard had blockaded Charleston in 1718, and Florida's shallow inlets were exactly the kind of hiding places that his fleet favored. So every unfamiliar sail could have been his, and this kept all of these men on their toes. Other pirates absolutely struck nearby settlements and ships, and Florida's coastline was littered with wrecks. They had looted cargo and just skeletons of ambitions galore. For centuries, St. Augustine lived under the constant threat of raiders, whether flying the skull and crossbones or the flag of England and France, because they are all after one thing, right? They want territory. The lighthouse, or watchtower, depending on the century, wasn't really built to be pretty. It was just built to keep eyes on the sea, and it faced more than its fair share of turmoil. But the land was stolen, so personally, I think it was pretty fair after all. In 1880, after centuries of storms, battles, and pirate fears, the old Spanish watchtower finally collapsed into the sea. But by then, a replacement already loomed over the shoreline. A taller, stronger, striped in black and white tower. And with that new tower came a new chapter, one of tragedy, of children's laughter that turned into screams, and of footsteps that never stopped echoing up the stairs. By the late 1860s, the old Coquina Watchtower was on borrowed time. The sea chewed away at its base, and everyone in town knew it wouldn't last much longer. The U.S. government made the decision that St. Augustine needed a new modern lighthouse. And in 1871, construction began on the tower that we see today. Superintendent Hezekiah H. Pitty oversaw the project, leading a new crew of laborers, craftsmen, and engineers. Picture it, carts of red brick, piles of iron, ships unloading the massive glass prisms of the new Fresnel lens, the most advanced lighthouse technology in the world at the time. The new tower was 165 feet tall, a black and white striped sentinel with a striking red lantern at the top. It's actually truly beautiful if you look up pictures of it. It's really pretty. Inside, there are 219 iron steps spiraled upward in a dizzying climb. When lit, the Fresnel lens could throw light 20 miles out to the sea, warning sailors of deadly shoals and guiding them safely into the harbor. For St. Augustine, it was more than a structure, it was a promise that their town, so often burned, battered, and besieged, would endure. But even before the paint dried on its candy cane stripes, the new lighthouse was touched by tragedy. And this is where the haunting tales of the paranormal really take off. Superintendent Pitty lived on site with his wife Mary and their 4 children. The grounds weren't just a workplace, they were home. Workers trudged up scaffolding, bricks clattered into place, the lens gleamed like a jewel, and all the while the Pitty children played in the shadow of the rising tower. For them, this was their playground. Mary, the oldest, was 15. She was bright, adventurous, and something of a leader among the kids. Eliza, who was 13, was quieter, often following her sister, but with a mischievous streak of her own, like a true second child. Carrie, just 4 years old, was the baby of the family. She was adored, protected, and always trying to keep up with her older sisters. As a youngest, I feel you, Carrie. We just want to be included. The Pitty family did also have a son named Edward, but I couldn't find as much information about him, unfortunately, maybe because some of the story has more to do with the sisters. The Pitty children, especially the girls, had a favorite pastime, and it was something that would horrify a parent today, but felt like harmless fun in the 1870s. They loved riding the supply cart. The construction site had rails running from the tower down toward the water, and it was used to haul materials. But to the children, it was a roller coaster. Workers sometimes laughed as the girls would climb in, clinging to the edges as the cart rolled and rattled downhill. However, this particular game soon turned very deadly. On July 10th, 1873, the Pitty children piled into the cart along with a friend, a young girl who was visiting the site. 4 of them total. Edward was not in the cart. The cart rolled down the tracks, faster and faster as it had always done before, wheels clattering, the inlet glinting in the distance. But this time, something went wrong. The cart derailed. The children were hurled into the water below. Workers shouted, dropping their tools, rushing to the shoreline. Neighbors scrambled to help, but unfortunately, it was too late. The friend survived, but the 3 Pitty girls drowned. Their mother's screams echoed across the site. Superintendent Pitty, the man responsible for the tower, couldn't save his own children beneath it. Even just reading that for my research, it made my stomach instantly drop. I envisioned it far too vividly and I hate it. So awful, so sad. So obviously, the tragedy devastated the family and the town. Newspapers reported on the accident, describing the failed rescue efforts and the sorrow that gripped the workers who had watched the girls playing daily. A lighthouse meant to protect lives had now claimed them before it even began its service. And that father, Hezekiah Pitty, never forgave himself for what happened to his daughters. It's such a sad story. And although this is horrific, this is also where haunting tales come from. And it was not long after that the whispers of a haunting began. Workers started claiming to hear children's laughter in the half-built tower when no one was there. Others reported the sound of footsteps running across empty platforms. Some swore that they glimpsed the figure of a girl in a blue dress, just for a moment, before she vanished. Some chalked this up to trauma, reliving the accident or wishing the children were still around. But even decades later, heck, even over a century later, the question remains, are the pity children still at play there? One lighthouse keeper, years later, wrote, quote, I heard laughter as if from children, echoing down the tower, yet the lighthouse was locked. I was the only one inside, end quote. The pity tragedy carved itself into the history of the lighthouse as deeply as the spiral stripes on its tower. Even today, guides tell their story on every tour. Visitors leave flowers for the girls. Paranormal investigators bring toys, hoping the spirits will move them. For many, the pity children represent the most active, mischievous presence in the lighthouse. Definitely not vengeful, not terrifying in any way. Maybe a bit startling at first, but forever playful. Still running, still giggling, still riding their invisible cart. But the children were not the only souls who stayed behind. The Pity Sisters may be the most playful spirits of the St. Augustine Lighthouse, but they certainly are not alone. The tower was a workplace, a lifeline, and for some, it became an eternity. One of the earliest deaths tied to the lighthouse came before the striped tower even existed. In the 1850s, Joseph Andrew, spelled weird, like French almost, Andreu, Andrew, Joseph Andrew, keeper of the old Spanish watchtower, fell to his death while tending the lamp. He had climbed high to service the flame when his footing slipped. Now, his wife Maria was devastated, but she decided that she would step in to his role, becoming one of the first female lightkeepers in U.S. history, which is pretty cool, right? But many believe Joseph still climbs the stairs today. Guests have reported seeing a man in a blue coat standing at the top of the lighthouse, but if you approach him, he vanishes. And then there was Peter Rasmussen, a German-descended keeper in the early 20th century. He was known for his precision and love of cigars. Rasmussen was meticulous in life and, according to many, still very present in death. Tourists and staff regularly smell the sharp aroma of cigar smoke wafting through the stairwell, even though smoking has long been banned inside. One visitor recalled, quote, the smell was strong, as if someone had just lit up beside me, but no one was there, end quote. And they are not the only ghostly friends hanging out in the lighthouse. Oh no, not just the Pity children. Not just Joseph Andrew, and not just Peter Rasmussen. Other keepers faced grim fates too. Some slipped on the spiraling iron stairs. Others suffered accidents with the machinery that kept the lens burning. The life of a lighthouse keeper was grueling. Storms, isolation, endless labor. I mean, it's no wonder some refused to abandon their post, even in death. By the mid-20th century, stories of hauntings were very commonplace. Guides, staff, and visitors all carried tales of eerie encounters. So here are some of the most common paranormal occurrences reported. One of them is footsteps, heavy boots echoing up the spiral stairs when no one is climbing. Sometimes the steps keep pace with you, following closely behind, feeling like a presence is just out of sight. I kind of hate that. I don't like being followed anyways. Like if I'm at the store and I feel someone too close behind me, I don't like that. So not even being able to see what's going on behind me or seeing that presence, that energy, like breathing down my neck, I don't know if I like that. Then there are the doors that slam shut on their own. On windless nights, iron doors are said to slam shut with so much force that the sound reverberates through the tower. Iron doors. Like heavy ass doors. are just slamming shut on their own. So, yeah, that would startle the shit out of me. And of course, there are the giggles, the playful laughter of children, unmistakable, bright, but chilling when you're alone. These echoes of playful laughter are often described as coming from above, as though the Pity Girls are still playing tag in the lantern room and riding around in that supply cart. One staff member recalled, quote, "I was locking up for the night, making sure all visitors were gone. I heard footsteps upstairs, so I called out. No answer. I climbed the tower and found it completely empty, but the steps continued right behind me, following me down." End quote. Others report seeing full apparitions, a girl in blue on the stairs, a shadowy figure darting across the catwalk, or a uniformed man standing watch before fading into nothingness. With so many reports, it was inevitable that the St. Augustine Lighthouse would draw professional investigators' attention. And when it did, the evidence did not disappoint. Ghost Hunters, one of the most popular paranormal TV shows, filmed one of their most famous episodes here. They captured disembodied voices, moving shadows, and even full bodied apparitions on camera. The most chilling moment? The unmistakable giggles of children echoing up the stairwell with no children in sight. I highly recommend you go watch that episode right after you listen to this. It is both chilling and intriguing. I love Ghost Hunters. They do great work, and this episode is one of my favorites. Other investigative teams have recorded EVPs. If you don't know what that stands for, it is electronic voice phenomena. These EVPs have been captured answering direct questions. Flashlights have also been placed on the floor and turned on and off in seemingly intelligent patterns. If you're familiar with paranormal investigating, then you know that sometimes cat balls and flashlights, things like that, are used to ask and answer questions. So spirits and energies turn the flashlights on and off, or they touch the cat balls to light them up in order to communicate. It is also said that these other investigative teams have had cameras pick up shadowy figures crossing the stairwells. Local guides corroborate these stories too, stating that they often witness windows that open and close on their own when it's not even a windy day, unseen hands nudging shoulders, shoelaces just mysteriously becoming untied, probably by the children playing some kind of prank. And some guides even refuse to climb the tower alone at night because there's just so much going on. The stories aren't limited to investigators or workers, though. Everyday visitors bring their own tales too. One Reddit user described seeing a handprint appear on a landing that couldn't be wiped away. A participant on the Dark of the Moon tour recorded a whisper in response to a guide's question. When asked if the spirit had turned off his phone, a voice hissed back, "Yes." Another guest, who was on a 2024 ghost hunt, captured a photo of what appeared to be a woman holding flowers, her form very faint, but unmistakable. Another visitor recalled climbing the stairs when she suddenly felt a female presence behind her, as though trying to push her. Moments later, a mysterious light appeared and then vanished with a bang. I wonder what the bang was. Maybe one of the iron doors closing shut? And the staff experiences are just as eerie and juicy. Ginger Swartz, who's a local resident, insists that she always smells cigar smoke near the tower, both inside and out. Sammy Washburn, a program manager, reports windows opening and closing on their own and shadows, quote, acting like former keepers. Abby Smith, a staffer, says that spirits love untying her shoelaces, often gravitating toward caregivers like mothers, teachers, or nurses that may be visiting the grounds, which obviously means I need to go there immediately. Come on, time issues. Being able to witness something like that would be incredible. Then there's the medium, who once described seeing bare footprints on the spiral stairs that didn't smear or fade. She believed that they were left by a keeper as a protective sign. So clearly, the sheer variety of experiences, from playful, menacing, comforting, and also a bit terrifying, makes the lighthouse a kaleidoscope of hauntings. Ask anyone who's been there, and they'll tell you. Climbing those 219 stairs is an experience in itself. The iron railing cold under your hand, the steps clanging beneath your feet, the spiral pulling you ever upward. The higher you climb, the quieter it gets. The noises of the town fade away, replaced by the creak of the iron, the trum of your own heartbeat. And sometimes, just sometimes, you might hear something else. A little giggle, a sigh, or maybe a heavy boot step too close behind you. And at the top, the view is breathtaking. Ocean to one side, city to the other, the red lantern glowing above. But linger too long, and many say you'll feel it. A tug at your sleeve, the brush of air on your neck, or the sense that you're not and never were alone. So, what is it that makes these lighthouses so haunted? Some say, like St. Augustine, it's the tragedies, the drowning of the pity children, the keepers who died on the job. Others say it's something deeper, that centuries of bloodshed, war, and loss have imprinted themselves into the land. And I mean, that tower has seen it all, right? Pirate raids, sieges, storms, accidents. Each layer of history is burned into its bricks. Perhaps every giggle, every footstep, every whiff of cigar smoke is just the echo of memories too strong to fade. I mean, think about it. This one patch of land has seen the Spanish watchtower raised in the 1500s to scan for pirates, the burning of the city by Sir Francis Drake in 1586, centuries of war, sieges, and cannon fire, the collapse of the old watchtower into the sea, the rise of the striped lighthouse in the 1870s, the tragic death of the Pity Sisters, whose laughter still echoes in the stairwell, and the keepers who tended the flames so faithfully that even death couldn't pull them away. This place is haunted by history itself, plus, Native American land, which just they've really done a number on themselves. So, I don't know, karma, I guess. But, I mean, there's something about lighthouses across the world, from New England to Scotland to the storm-lashed cliffs of Ireland. Lighthouses have had reputations for being haunted since the beginning of time. Maybe it's the isolation, the lonely keepers climbing endless stairs night after night. Maybe it's the danger. There were so many lighthouse keepers and workers who fell or drowned or broke against the rocks that they tried to warn sailors about. Or maybe it's the symbolism, because a lighthouse is more than a brick and mortar. It's a beacon, right? A promise of safety in the dark. But then when tragedy strikes inside that very beacon, when the light that saves suddenly becomes a stage for death, that's when the line between light and shadow blurs a bit. And the St. Augustine Lighthouse may be the clearest example of all of that. And maybe that's the lesson of St. Augustine, that some lights never go out. Maybe that's what the hauntings really are. Not threats, not curses, but messages. The Pity Sisters reminding us of the lives cut short. Joseph Andrews still tending the flame. Peter Rasmussen still smoking his cigar on the stairs. They're definitely not forgotten because we keep telling their stories. And perhaps every footstep, every whisper, every shadow figure is their way of saying thank you. Thank you for remembering us. Thank you for keeping our stories alive. They just communicate it a little differently than we do. And that, my spooky friends, is the story of the St. Augustine Lighthouse. From pirate raids and burning cities to playful children and cigar-smoking keepers, all bound by the spiritual tower that refuses to be silent. If you've ever been to St. Augustine Lighthouse, I need to hear from you. I don't just want to hear from you. I need to hear from you right now. Did you see anything you couldn't explain? Did you hear the laughter? Did your shoes get untied? Did you smell the smoke? Share your stories with me, especially if you want me to share it for our next Booze Clues episode. So if you guys have any St. Augustine stories, or it doesn't even have to be about the lighthouse, just St. Augustine in general, or just any other lighthouse stories, send them in. I want your spooky lighthouse lore. I absolutely need to go here. Next time I go to Florida to visit my sister, I'm going to see if we can make a trip to St. Augustine Lighthouse and just roam around St. Augustine again. Because first of all, it was so cute. Such a cute place. If you guys haven't been, definitely go. Speaking of places to go, you guys should go haunt the podcast. Go hit that follow button and open the portal to some awesome content. And while you're at it, share this episode with your spooky friends or someone you know that's been to the St. Augustine Lighthouse or even a lighthouse. Maybe you just even lives in a house. Share it with them. Share it with all your friends. Repost it, like it, follow it, all that jazz. Share it with everybody. Please and thank you. And please go rate, review, and subscribe, especially the review parts. Go review the podcast. Go let your little fingers type away. Literally, you only have to write like a sentence or two. You don't even need to write a lot. Just write a review, preferably a good one. If you don't have anything nice to say, don't write a review. Go find a different podcast to listen to that you like. But the reviews really do help, like a whole lot. I am now in the top 50% of podcasters officially. So that's cool. That's pretty awesome. Thank you guys for doing that for me. That's all you guys. I just sit here and talk into a microphone. So thanks for listening. Thanks for your support. Love you all. That's all I have for you guys today. So until next time, go eat some peanut butter jelly M&Ms. Maybe check out a lighthouse or two. Go learn some more about sharks because they just blow my mind. Sharks are pretty cool. Maybe I'll do a Shark Week episode. I don't know. We'll see. The opportunities are endless with this podcast. The limit does not exist. So stay curious. Thanks for coming to my dead talk. And remember to trust your lizard brain. Until next time, goodbye.